Ali,
Hi.
welcome to Top of Mind. You are the co-founder of Balmee,
Yes.
which is a lip balm with your microbiome in mind.
And we were driving up the road and I look out the window and I was like, oh my God, that's Kayla at Cena. Are you Kayla? She's like, yeah. I wanted to give you my lip balm and just told her a bit about the brand. I wonder if anything would come of it. It ended up us having to go on a gut feeling like, okay, who is not gonna fuck us over? I look at 500 views on TikTok and I'm like, oh, that was a flop. No one cares. 500 people in a room in front of you. That is a lot of people.
All of the most successful people that have made billions and billions of dollars have had no plan B.
And I think that's what you have to do. You can't just disappear because you want to stay top of mind.
Ali,
Hi.
welcome to Top of Mind. I'm
Thanks.
so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here.
This is exciting. I feel like this has been a long time coming. You are the co-founder of Balmee,
Yeah.
which is a lip balm with your microbiome in mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to start with what is something that most people don't know about you?
I feel like at the moment, something that people don't know about me is that I actually live in Perth.
Mm.
I lived in Sydney for about 10 years, but I'm from Perth originally, and I moved back to Perth in December. So I feel like that's still a bit fresh. So people just assume I live in Sydney still. I think when we connected, you
Yep.
just assumed I was in Sydney.
And what do you think one misconception is that people have about you when perhaps they haven't met you before or they meet you for the first time?
Just my height. I'm a shorty.
She's a short
I'm a
girly.
short girl. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I knew you as at a distance
Yes.
before I had a Zoom call with you or
That's
anything
very
like
true.
that. So I'm like, I kind of feel like I knew, but I do feel like everyone's short compared to me. So
I feel like every time I meet someone in person, they're like, "Oh, you're short." I'm like, "Yeah."
you're like, yeah, what are we going to do
Maybe I
about
must
it?
give tall energy, which I like that. I'm
Amazing.
happy with that.
Now tell me, I want to ask this because I think that it's something that I'm actually asking all of my guests at the moment, because I just think that social media can paint such a highlight picture or a highlight reel of people's businesses, brands and lives. But so rarely do we share the things that we're insecure about or the things that we don't feel great about or the things that we're struggling through at the moment. So tell me one thing that you're insecure about at the moment, that perhaps you haven't spoken about or that no one sees.
I mean, I feel like as women, we have so many
So
insecurities,
many.
just thanks to society.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Cheers. And maybe this ties into that, but the first thing that comes to mind is, related to Balmy and what I do is putting out content. Like that does not come naturally to me at all.
Mhm.
And I know it's something that for the business is beneficial and it's present what I have done in that space and what my business partner has done has presented so many opportunities for us. So I know it's an important part of what we do, but it is something I'm still feeling comfortable about. And every time I upload something, I feel insecure about it.
What is it about it? Is it just the fact that you're like worried that people are going to judge you?
Yeah, I think you're just looking at the numbers all the time,
Totally.
which I shouldn't do. You should just probably post it. And that's probably great advice that people give is, just post it, close your phone, don't look at it. But you can't help but feel like shit. Sorry, can I swear?
Absolutely,
Great.
you can swear.
Cool. You just feel shit if it flops
Yeah.
and you think and you second guess yourself
Mm.
and you're like, does anyone care what I have to say?
Mm.
But it's really easy to forget that 500 people viewing a video is a lot of people. So
Huge.
I look at 500 views on TikTok and I'm like, oh, that was a flop. No one cares. And then I've had so many times where I'll be, I don't know, at an event or somewhere and talking about the brand, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw your TikTok about blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh yeah, people do see it. And if you
Totally.
had 500 people in a room in front of you, that is a lot of people.
I say it all the time, and I think that you're so right. I think, the advice that I always give to people when they go, I'm scared that I'm going to post it and it's going to be a flop. I'm like,
Mm,
yeah, but then no one's seen it. So it doesn't matter anyway. Like, just
totally.
post the next
Just post
thing
it.
anyway, because that's then going to bury that thing that you think that is shit with
Yeah.
something new that someone might really resonate with or might get better views or whatever. But it's like, you won't get that next lot of views if you don't post again.
100%. Yeah.
So I think that's so right though around the 500 people in a room, because I say it all the time. It's like, if you've got 500 people looking at your story or you've got 500 people looking at a post that you put up, like compound that if you're posting 3 times a week or 5
Exactly.
times a week or whatever. And over time, that's how you become known.
Yeah,
And that's how you become known for the thing that you're known for.
exactly. Have to remind myself that. Yeah.
Totally. What is one belief that you hold about business that most people would disagree with?
I feel like I've got a hot take.
Go.
And I mean this in the nicest way possible because I hope I'm talking about myself in this respect as well. But I feel like a lot of really successful business people are not necessarily quote unquote smart people.
Mm,
I think people who are really book smart look at business as a huge risk or starting a business or entrepreneurship, and they're almost too smart that they think about all the things that could go wrong because they just analyze every little thing.
mhm,
Whereas I think there's so many really successful business people out there who don't necessarily have those traditional book smarts that have managed to create incredible companies because they don't think about the risk. They just go for it and they figure it out as they go.
mm,
And stuff will naturally fuck up, but you just keep going
mm.
and you figure it out. And so I feel like that's maybe something people would disagree with, that you have to be smart to run a business, but I don't necessarily think that's true.
No, I agree. I actually heard the quote the other day, and it's like, if you want something done fast, ask the laziest person in the room.
Mm.
And I was like, it's
Mhm.
so smart.
Mhm.
That's so true,
True.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's like that person is going to find the quickest, most
Yeah.
efficient way to do it.
Get it
And
done.
I also think you're so right. I think it's not necessarily the smartest person in the room that's the most successful. But
Mm.
I think that with that in mind as well, there's this sense of like delusional optimism that you have to have going into a business. And I know that I've
Absolutely.
certainly had it when I've started my businesses or run with any idea of like, it will work.
Yeah.
And
100%.
when it doesn't work and we have to figure it out, we'll figure it out. And
Absolutely.
everything
No,
is
but it will
figure
work.
outable. But it will work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. I actually listened to this podcast the other day and it was saying there was this woman and she was a bit woo-woo, probably a bit too woo-woo for my liking,
Yeah.
but I rode with it. I was like, I could probably learn something new.
Yeah.
And she said she coaches a lot of people around mindset and money,
Mhm.
which I was like, this is really interesting. And she said all of the most successful people that have made billions and billions of dollars that she's worked with
Mm.
have had no plan B.
Mm.
And she's like, all the people that have failed at whatever endeavor they're going down have been people that have had backup
Bit backup.
plans
Yeah.
if plan A doesn't
Mm.
work. Whereas the people that have been the most successful are the people that have jumped into something and they've not had a backup plan. And I
There's
think that
no
that's,
option.
it's so true. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, wow, that's such a great way to explain it or articulate it. I'm quickly interrupting the episode before we get in too deep. If you want behind the scenes thoughts that I don't always share on the mic, as well as exclusive events, cheat sheets, and workshop invites, they go to my email list. You can sign up in the show notes. That's where the real stuff lives. Now back to the episode. Balmee.
Yes.
You have it with you.
I do.
It's a lip balm with your microbiome in mind, and it is
Correct.
less than a year old.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to chat to you about how it all came to life
Mm.
because I've known you by being in the Commons at
Mhm.
George Street. Shout
Yeah.
out to the Commons.
Yeah. We love the
Um,
comments.
and I feel like I've recognized you by being in the same space at the same time. And then I think I saw a piece of your content come onto my feed and I was like, oh, that's her. And then I saw that you had launched this business and I was like, I'm really interested. I want to see what they're doing. So
Mhm.
I've kind of naturally always followed you.
Mhm.
But the idea was born from the insight that you apply lip gloss, if you apply lip gloss twice a day,
Mhm.
over the course of the year, you end up consuming approximately 2 tubes of lip gloss.
Yeah.
Now, as someone that wears lip gloss
Constantly.
regularly and
Yeah, I've seen your handbag.
my
There's a lot
lips
of
cannot be dry, like that is crazy. And the insight is so obvious when you put it like that.
Mhm.
But what made you do something about it? Because you look at the inside and you're like, well, obviously, like
Yeah.
creating a lip gloss with your microbiome in mind, if you're consuming
Mhm.
that much, is really clever.
Mm.
But no one's done it.
Yeah.
So what made you do something about it?
I think it was probably, timing. We were already exploring the lip balm space. It was something we were really interested in launching within prior to having read that stat. And we didn't want to launch just another lip balm.
Mhm.
So we weren't too sure whether that was the right move. And then we read that. And I think the wellness space at the same time is, had such and I mean, we started a long time ago ideating and working on this. So obviously the wellness space is blown up and it's growing even more.
Mhm.
But at that time, I feel like the wellness space was really on the rise. So it kind of made sense to marry, beauty and wellness into that one product and, look at these processes and this technology that was able to happen with manufacturing these
Mm,
days, and that fermentation process that we use on kakadu plum and aloe vera, which brings out those pre and postbiotic properties.
mm,
Um, so I think it was the timing of all that, but also just knowing that you have to have such a strong point of difference
mm,
to launch a brand in such a crowded market. There are
yeah.
so many lip balms out there. So while we felt like we could create one that competes and is just as good, you still have to have a point of difference to stand out in the market.
Totally. So
Mm.
how long did you ideate on the idea of having a lip balm before you found the inside?
I want to say maybe 6 months or so we
Mhm.
were exploring it, and looking into it before we actually stumbled across that stat, and then began the search for a manufacturer that could deliver both beauty and wellness in the one.
Crazy.
Mm.
I love it. I feel like the coming like I find that really fascinating. And when we spoke initially offline prior to this, when you said that you'd been ideating and you came up with the idea of you want to do a lip balm, but then you found the stat afterwards.
Mm.
Do you think if you had your time again, or if you think for anyone that's listening that wants to launch a product in a saturated market and having a key point of difference, do you think finding the stat before the product is important, or finding a product and then finding the hole in that product works? How would you do it
Yeah.
again if you had your time again?
I never really would have thought prior to doing it that it would have happened the way it did for us.
Sure.
I would always assume that people would start brands because they found this stat or whatever, and that led to the idea rather than the other way round. But I think we're kind of proof that you absolutely can do it that way. And, there are so many hugely successful brands that take an existing product that's everywhere and just put one spin on it. It doesn't have to be
Mm,
ingredients, it can be anything. I mean, I used to work for Jamie Lupton at Monday Hair Care, and that is a shampoo and conditioner
mm,
that went into a supermarket shelf that traditionally looks pretty crappy
mm.
and put a luxe looking bottle, and that was their point of difference.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be, a groundbreaking ingredient or a new technology.
Mhm,
You can look at a space and a product that already exists and
mhm.
find your point of difference within that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Now you've alluded to, but you have a co-founder,
I do.
Phoebe.
Yes, Phoebe.
She will be coming on the podcast
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
But when she's in Sydney,
Yeah.
because I refuse to do any
Fair enough.
Zoom
It's much better
conversations.
in
I
person.
think so.
Mm.
How's that dynamic, and how did it talk to me about how it came about first?
Yeah. So Fee and I met about 10 years ago. We were both living and working in New York. We worked in the same PR agency, and being two Aussies in the PR beauty space, we just obviously hit it off and became little besties.
Love.
Didn't leave each other's side. We even left New York within a day of each other, when we moved
Crazy.
home, and just always kind of knew. Obviously, we worked together in that space,
Mhm,
so we knew how each other liked to work. We always were so aligned on honestly everything.
mm,
We still do it. We'll buy something like clothing, and I'm like, I literally bought that yesterday, or just everything that we think is so similar.
yeah.
So we were always looking to potentially do something together. And, both loved beauty. So, yeah, that's kind of how it came about, that
Mm,
we just were always sending each other ideas and everything like that.
love. And how, like, with being so similar,
Mm.
how do you, because you often hear in co-founder stories, and anyone that sat in this chair and talked to me about their co-founder relationships, they've got
Mm.
very clear roles and responsibilities. Like, one person is really good at the marketing or PR side of it,
Yep.
one person is very product specific. But from what I know of you two, and from the conversations that we've had previously, you're both very similar. So
Mm.
how do you split that kind of workload and roles and responsibilities so that you're not double handling,
Yep.
but then also so that you can both be super efficient in the small business that you have.
Yeah, totally. I think when we first started, we did a lot together and we talked through everything together. But obviously, as the business evolved and once we launched, it became necessary to kind of split the load more. Um, I think within the marketing space, while we both have that background, my background is much more PR and
Mhm.
brand marketing, and hers is more social media and content. So even within the marketing space, we have different niches, which
Sure.
is helpful, I think, for us, as a new brand. Like
Absolutely.
that was great. I cannot post the social content. I'm so glad that Phoebe can do that. So from that perspective with marketing, that's easy to split that up. And then in terms of everything else, it's definitely a struggle for us because it's not what we know. We don't know finance or supply chain or
Sure.
commercials or anything like that, but we know kind of maybe who has more of a strength in that capacity. So head of finance for Balmee right here,
We
which is
love that.
really concerning
Do you
for the
know what? Hats
business.
off to you, because that was the first thing I outsourced. Like, when I was like,
Yeah,
when I can, I will, because I'm like, I grew up with the saying of like, God doesn't give with both hands. Like, you can't be good at everything.
totally.
And I very much realized that that was like, I know my P&L, I know the numbers that I bring in enough to have a conversation about, bringing extra team in or whatever.
Hmm.
But I am not reconciling.
No.
I'm not getting into the weeds of it because I
Yeah.
don't have the brain
I
capacity for it.
actually really like reconciling, which is so
No,
strange,
I
like
love that
not
for
coming
you.
from a finance background, but there's something methodical about it that it's really different to anything else we do in the business. I'm like, oh, it's time to do zero. And I'm like,
I was going to say, Zero makes it very
yeah,
easy. I mean, if Zero want to sponsor the
yeah,
podcast, amazing, shout out. But Zero makes it very easy because I'm the same. I actually don't mind because I go through and reconcile all of our like transactional
yeah, yeah,
statements,
yeah.
but then Amex and everything like that is done separately. But yeah, I find there's a
It's so
process
good.
to it, but
Yeah.
I don't like when things don't match.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
freaks my
But
brain
do you
out a
know
little
what's
bit.
so helpful with that? Claude.
Oh, okay.
Have you gotten into
Oh
Claude?
my, oh, huge on
Okay,
Claude.
cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that I honestly, AI has been so helpful for things like that. And I mean,
yeah.
we do have an accountant, don't get me wrong. So there is like legitimacy there. But
No tax fraud going on.
yeah, exactly. um, if there's little tiny things that
Mm,
I just don't really know what that means. It's,
totally.
oh my God,
Like, I
lifesaver.
can't tell you, I'll give you an example. So, we unfortunately at the end of every quarter, actually not at the end of every quarter, but usually at the end of every quarter, we'll reconcile. And if there's businesses that have outstanding invoices or whatever, and they're
Mhm.
significantly outstanding or whatever, we will chase them and go through the process of chasing them. And then, worst case scenario, send them to our debt collecting team
Yeah,
that then has to chase
yeah.
them.
Fun.
Awful. Like, I
Yeah.
never want to do it, and I really want to avoid it because I'm like, hey, if you want to go on a payment plan, we can organize that for you.
Yeah,
But the
totally.
moment you go to a debt collector, we can't then bring it back to us.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to avoid that at all costs. I think, like, at the end of last year, we had something that I was like, okay, these 3 people need to be sent to the debt collector. Off you go. And the thing that bothered me was the payment was made, but it obviously had the fees and everything on top of it. So the numbers didn't match. So that invoice sat for like 3 weeks
'Cause you were like,
unreconciled
"What is
because I was
that?"
like, how do I add the fee that adds this? And I was like speaking to my
Yeah.
accountant. I was like, can you do it? And she was like, yeah, I can do it. No problem. So I'm like, can you tell me what you've done? Because I want to know for next
Yeah,
time. Like, just
totally.
the balance is being wrong. And I know that the two things match up. But anyway,
No, I feel that.
Zero,
Yeah.
if you're listening,
0. We love ya.
top of mind right here. Um, okay. So the co-founder relationship,
Mhm.
um, has there been a conversation between the two of you that perhaps if you had an employee, it would have been a very different conversation? Or is there any like kind of difficult conversation that you've had to have with each other that sticks in your mind that I'm like, oh, that wouldn't have happened if I had a team member?
Yeah, 100%.
Can you share it?
So yeah. Um, I guess when we started, working together and started the business, obviously everyone advises you not to go into business with your best friend.
Yep.
Classic.
Yep.
The classic piece of advice. But we, ready to prove them wrong. But we had a conversation that we were like, we don't want that to be us. Like, we don't want to be those co-founders that fell out and then they're not friends anymore and it's a disaster. So we have to be brutally honest with each other.
Yeah.
If you're not liking something that I'm doing, or I'm pissing you off, or whatever it is, we have to tell each other.
Mm.
We said that from the outset, and we have had to have conversations like that. And I think, getting a bit deeper, it comes down to it's relationships, and everyone gets triggered by different things for different reasons based on your past or your childhood,
Totally.
and sometimes you have absolutely no idea why that triggers you a
Mm.
certain way, but it just does. So, we've had to have conversations that, like, hey, can you maybe not say this way when you tell me about this?
Okay.
And maybe if you said it like this, I wouldn't feel triggered. And
Yeah.
having those conversations has been the best thing we've ever done,
Yeah.
because it just allows you to then be like, yep, great. And I think being friends helps because we're so respectful of each other's feelings. Like, I would never want to upset my co-founder or my best friend,
Yeah.
and she wouldn't want to upset me.
Yeah.
So having those conversations, I think, has been what set us up for such an incredible working relationship. Like,
Amazing.
I recommend going into business with your friend because it's been incredible for us.
You heard it here first.
Hot take.
I love it. We'll have you come back in 2 years' time,
Yeah.
and then we'll see
Yeah,
where it
we'll
stands.
see. We'll see. Yeah.
No, I love that. I'm so here for that because it's like, you do hear about, I've interviewed Ryan, founder of Refilled. He only just bought a co-founder on who was his employee
Mm,
and then made him a co-founder because of how invested he was in the business.
amazing.
And I was like, that's really interesting because I'm like, you kind of really have to leave your ego at the door there of like, I created this business, I've run it for the last 2 years, and
Totally.
now I'm bringing someone that had no skin in the game originally to have
Totally.
skin in the game.
Yeah.
And then you also hear about those co-founders that fall out or business
Yeah.
partners that fall out as well. So I
Yeah.
just think relationships, it honestly comes down to communication.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's been
And
huge for us, and being able to have mature conversations. And yeah, I think it is also about leaving your ego at the door.
love. What do you think most people or founders get wrong about launching a product?
There's been things that have not gone our way, whether or not that's something that we got wrong. I tell you what I think we've done right that
Okay.
people could maybe learn from. Not that I think there's any one right way to
Babes,
do
own it.
to
They
launch a
could learn
business,
from it.
but
You've done it before them, they haven't.
okay.
They can learn from
So
it.
we've launched with one
Yeah.
product, which is probably not that common for beauty brands.
Mhm.
There's normally a suite or a routine or, something like that, a suite of products. But I think, we think often about a brand like Bang and Body, which is that started as one hero moisturizer, like
Mhm.
body moisturizer, and everyone knows that yellow tube,
Totally.
and that is how that brand is so well known, from that hero product. And that's kind of the strategy that we went with launching one balm, because we can be so clear and consistent on our messaging, and we can just hammer that in and in and in, which is what you need to do to get that brand awareness and grow a brand and really be able to scale it, rather than having 10 different messages about 10 different SKUs and trying to figure out what to prioritize. So I think potentially what some brands get wrong is launching with too many SKUs, being too confused in the market, not really having a core identity of who they are and
Mhm.
what is the message that they're trying to get out there.
Mm.
Um, in terms of what we did wrong, it's funny, I was thinking about this yesterday, and there are so many things that went wrong for us, so many things,
But out of your control.
pretty much out of our control. And I'm sure we'll look back in a year and be like, oh, we shouldn't have done this, or we did this wrong,
Sure.
or whatever. But every single one of those things, I know it's cliche, but it's a learning. Like, we have learned so much, and we
Mm.
know, you know, not to push manufacturers on their contracts too hard, or,
Mm.
we've learned so many things along the way. And I don't think that we'd be in the position had we not had those learnings.
Totally. It's almost like all of those things led you to where you are
Correct.
right now. I
Exactly.
agree. I think like I don't necessarily think it's something that's gone wrong. It's just something
Mm,
that you've learned from. And going back to your point around launching one product, I couldn't agree more. And it's something that we say all the time to our clients. Like I had 4 new business meetings last week with new clients
mm,
that were all launching either a fashion product or a beauty product.
mhm.
And they were like, we just got to figure out which products we want to launch with first. And I was like, launch with one.
One, yeah.
Launch
Because
with
do you
one.
do that for your chili oil business? Do you
Yeah,
have
we
the
have
one?
one.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
still
you still
have
have
one.
one. Yeah,
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 and that's what people know us for
yeah.
because still, when we launched the chili oil,
Mm,
we went with a very hard B2B launch strategy. So we were
mm,
launching in other cafes and
right.
restaurants.
Yeah.
The idea being that, or the insight that we had was that it's really hard to change a behavior on consumption of chili oil because a lot of people were like, I like this one, and they were like
Mm,
diehard fans on this
mhm.
one, and they
Very
weren't going to
loyal.
pick up another product off the shelf because the price point was $20 or $18.
Yeah.
And so for us, we were like, okay, well, how can we get people to try the product before they purchase it and potentially convert them at a very low barrier?
Yeah.
So getting it into other restaurants and cafes, having it on the menu there,
Mm,
and then having jars stocked in retail for them to purchase was
mhm.
a really easy transaction for us.
Totally.
So that
Makes
has
sense.
been the focus for the last 2 years. But going back to the clients that we have, especially the new clients that I was speaking to last week, all of them were like, "Oh, I don't know which ones to launch." And I was
Mm,
like, "Find your community, find
mm.
the people that love or have an interest in what you're launching or the niche or whatever,
Yeah.
and then test that one product with them." So
Yeah.
I think you've just kind of I feel like I'm gonna clip this and just send it to them. Just
Yeah.
be like, "Guys,
It's
I'm not lying. I'm not making it up."
honestly, it's the best thing that we've done because, yeah, again, it allows you to test the market, know that there's actually, people who want to buy what you're putting out there, but
Totally.
also then that community will tell you what they want next. So you can
100%.
build out your next few SKUs based on the feedback that you get from your community rather than just guessing because of
Totally.
probably what we might want to bring out. We actually had a product we were going to bring out next that we've pushed back and we're bringing another one forward based on feedback from our
You're
community.
so right.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same with Spicy Boy. Like when we
Yeah.
launched, we were live for like a year, and then we had a whole heap of customers coming back being like, "It needs to be spicier. I'm going through the jar too
Mm,
quickly." And I was
mm,
like, "But not everyone wants that heat." So then we created a limited run of Double Trouble, which was like double the heat,
smart.
which sold out so quickly.
Yeah.
And then from there, there's more and more insights that then just lead to the next
Yeah.
product thing. So yeah, you're so right. Let's talk about manufacturing.
Yeah.
Let me talk
My
about
favorite
manufacturing.
topic.
I think anyone that owns a business that has to work with a manufacturer has experienced some sort of manufacturer pain.
Yeah.
I know with the chili oil business, I knew nothing about food development or food
Mm,
manufacturing, didn't even know where to start.
mm,
And so my path and that was my task, was to find a manufacturer. And so the way in which I went about it was like, I remember speaking at an event which was held by like a packaging company for food supplies
mm.
essentially. So they did all the packaging for like, snacks and blah blah blah. And they had like 10 or 15 of their key like VIP customers come to this dinner that I spoke at
Cool.
about personal branding.
Mhm.
And there was one person at the table who I remember so distinctly because he ran a food manufacturing business that created human grade pet food.
Mm,
So they could produce not only food for humans, but food for pets in the same warehouse or manufacturing because it was human grade.
yeah.
And I remembered him because I was just like, it's such an interesting line of
Yeah.
like human grade pet food,
Yeah.
like who's not feeding their dog something that they would eat themselves. And I reached out to him, and then he introduced me to somebody else, and then it kind of flowed
Yeah.
on from there. And deciding on a manufacturer for us was very much like, this is a good gut feel.
Yeah.
Like there was no science behind it. There was no insight. There was no like, this is what we know.
Yeah.
There was no costing really that came into it other than like it needed to be a certain
Yeah.
price per unit at the end of it.
Well, I think manufacturers, there's exceptions to the rule, but they don't know how to market their businesses.
Not at
So
all.
it's so hard to know what you're going into when you're looking at their website or having a phone call.
Totally.
Just
And it comes back to relationships, right? Like you
mm,
just said, like your co-founder relationship is so important. Your manufacturing relationship is so important. So for me, I very much just took it off like, who do I feel like I can have a good relationship? Who do I feel like
mm,
is in my corner already?
yeah.
Um, Talk me through your manufacturing process. Where did you start?
Yeah. Well, I think when we first started looking, like AI was not really, ChatGPT and stuff hadn't really taken off to the extent it is now. I feel like now if I were to look, I'd probably do like deep research on chat or something like that and use that as a tool. At the time, we did a lot of Googling and just like scrolled every page looking at them and trying to suss, who might be good for us.
Mhm.
I had worked in, or both of us have worked in beauty
Mhm.
for a long time. So we also had some contacts in the industry who gave us a lot of contacts, which was incredible. So we had a big list from them. So it was just a lot of outreach.
Mhm.
We spoke to multiple manufacturers that we got quite far and we were ready to sign with them, and then it ended up not happening. I always call them the fuck boys of the manufacturing world
Love that.
because they literally will love bomb you and ghost you and do all the things that a naughty boy would do. It's
You
horrific.
can't escape them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
They're
can't escape
everywhere.
them. They're everywhere.
um, so that was also a huge learning that, the contracts are never going to be in your favor.
Mm.
It's very rare that a contract, especially when you're starting out, we
Mhm.
had no leverage. We're a new brand, they're taking a punt on us.
Mm.
So it's, they're not going to change their contracts for you. They're not going to make it even. They don't care. They'll just move on to the next person.
Hello, just a reminder, this podcast only works because you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's the easiest way to support me. So go on, hit subscribe. I'll wait. Okay, now back to the episode.
We had people pulling out just because we wanted tiny tweaks on a contract, and they're like, "Nah, you guys are too hard, not interested." So
Crazy.
to your point, it ended up us having to go on a gut feeling like, okay, who is not going to fuck us over? Who do we
Mm.
trust to create a really good product and we're going to have a good relationship with them? So that's kind of how we landed on our manufacturer. And them being very specialized in what we wanted to do was obviously a big positive.
Yeah. And did you explore like onshore and offshore suppliers as well? Or was it always wanting to be made here?
Yeah, we pretty much only explored Australian manufacturing. I think we looked at a few offshore, but we'd been given the advice that because we're 100% custom made. We're not in beauty. There's a lot of whitelisting. Do you
Of
know
course.
whitelisting? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's like when they have a manufacturer has like, okay, we've got a lip balm. You can tweak 2 ingredients in there. That's yours, and you slap your logo on it. Whereas custom manufacturing is doing it all from scratch.
Mhm.
You own 100% of the IP. It's yours. So that was absolutely what we were doing. And I've lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
We're talking about the process of manufacturing and how it came to making a decision.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's fine.
It's gone.
That's fine. So no, we were talking about the idea of manufacturing a product and the process of choosing your preferred
Yeah,
manufacturer,
manufacturer. Yeah.
and how you kind of got to the person that
Yeah.
you're eventually with. I then asked you, are you onshore or offshore?
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry. So the advice, hopefully we can just.
No, we're going to keep it in.
That's what happens to my brain sometimes.
It happens to all of us.
Oh my God.
It'll happen to me mid-podcast. I'll be like, what was I asking about? Or I'll zone out and then miss something. And then I'll be like, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, honestly. So yes,
onshore, offshore.
onshore, offshore. Offshore manufacturers are really good at replicating a product that already exists.
Mhm.
Working with an offshore manufacturer for many reasons, including like language barrier, it's harder to create something from scratch
Yeah.
that you're happy with. So we always wanted to go in Australia initially,
Mhm.
whether or not we take that offshore eventually
Sure.
for cost efficiencies to be able to scale. That's definitely something we may explore. But for now, we are Australian made.
Especially as a new product.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. Now, what is one thing that like no amount of research or ChatGPT or AI could prepare you for in the manufacturing process? You've mentioned the fuck boys,
The fuck
but
boys, yeah. Wasn't
what
prepared for them.
yeah. When are we ever?
Should have been.
Should have been. Always on guard.
Should have known
You let your
better.
guard down.
Yeah.
Is there something that you kind of, now that you've been through that process of manufacturing, that you're like, oh, if I went back and had my time again, there was no amount of research or advice or contacts being given or anything like that that could have prepared you for what you experienced.
Yeah, maybe the timelines. I think everything takes so much longer than you would expect. Even just getting replies to an email.
Mm.
You might have a specific timeline. Okay, we're going to launch this and we're doing this so that we can get this in place to do this. And that goes out the window because you ask one question that doesn't get a reply for a week and then you're pushed out a week. And then there's another thing that gets
Mhm.
pushed out. So I
Yep.
think just being prepared that you probably don't know when you're going to actually launch until you
Mhm.
have the product in your hands. It takes a long time to get there.
Yeah. Even shipping, like
Shipping.
working
Yeah.
out shipping costs and things like that. And I
Yeah.
think that's the one thing that for us in particular, because we have like glass jars of
Mm,
chili. So it's not like you can just whack it in the
yeah.
post. So shipping came,
Logistically difficult.
and it's like the minimum order for us when we first placed our first order was 1 ton of product.
Yeah, wow.
So it had to be a combination of the commercial tubs that we sell to businesses and then the
Mhm.
jars, and it was splitting that. It was just crazy. Now, you sold out
Yes,
completely.
we did.
How long were you live for before you sold out?
About 3 months.
You were live 3 months and then you sold
Sold
out.
out.
Sounds like a win.
Yeah.
But then you had to restock.
Yeah.
Talk me through that.
So when we sold out, this is again back to what we were just talking about with supply chain manufacturing. We were expecting it would be maybe a month max that we would be out of stock and we would have our restock by mid-February. It's currently mid-April and we literally just restocked on the weekend. So that was really painful. I think a lot of brands use a sellout as a marketing tactic. Like I know some brands will pretend they're sold out when they're not,
Mm.
just for a message and a campaign. That was definitely not what we did. Um, but I think it can be like a positive thing to sell
Mm.
out because it shows there's demand for your
Of
product.
course.
Um, but it definitely hinders, the progress for the business. We had pre-orders live, so people could pre-order during that time, which was great because then you still have a bit of cash flow
Mhm.
coming in. But it's put, yeah, like a 2-3 month hold on a lot of pretty aggressive goals that we have for the business and where we want to have it by the end of the
Mm.
year. So while it's great from a marketing perspective because people can see that there's demand for our product, it's hard for growth and scaling.
Mhm.
So I don't recommend having a 3-month sellout period.
No, I get that. I think though that like you're so right. I think also there's there's this conversation that happens when brands sell out, right? And I see it
Mm,
all the time play out on socials around if you're a brand that sold out, did you just not guess the amount of stock that you were going
mm,
to need? And it
mhm,
happens all the time in retail, right? Where you
mhm,
see brands sell out and then it's like, yeah, but did you only have 5 units? And that's why
yeah,
you've
yeah,
sold
yeah,
out of that jacket.
totally.
And there's this conversation around like, you know, guessing the right amount of stock that you need for the demand. Do you think that you, with selling out so quickly, do you
Mm,
think that you guys grossly like underestimated like how popular it would be? Because I can see as a new brand, you kind of are like, hey, let's not go too hard on our
totally.
quantities because what if this isn't a hit?
Yeah,
Especially as a female founder,
yeah,
you can sit there and be like, it might not work.
yeah, yeah.
Do you think that you had that kind of psyche play out a little bit when you were placing your first order because you were like, I don't want to go too hard too soon?
I think I say there are 3 things. Will I forget 2 of them once I start
Let's
talking?
go. Three
Perhaps, let's
things.
try. So I think number 1 is upfront cash. You have to have a
Totally.
decent amount of cash to place a decent size order,
Mhm.
which we just, you know, we were keeping it conservative with what we spent upfront. So that was the first thing that, we just didn't have all the money in the world to place a
Sure.
huge order. The second thing was that we had been given advice that you want to, again, test the product in the
Of
market,
course.
do the minimum possible order quantity,
Mhm.
um, so that, you know, just like, yeah, what if no one buys it?
Of course.
Or what if something goes wrong? Which it did for us, which we've never actually spoken about this before, but we had a huge, like, fuck up, for lack of a better word, with our initial product run. So we did, the minimum possible that we kind of could just to test the market. And something happened in the manufacturing process where not all of them, thank God, but a lot of the tubes didn't seal properly. So
On the end, right?
yes, so like here, so like they were sealed when they arrived and it looked fine, but because our product's quite thick, it it means you have to squeeze like hard to get it out of the tube, and so some of them were busting out of the bottom of the tube, which for us just felt like the biggest disaster because we were like,
Course.
"Oh my god, we've just launched this product. We're getting amazing sales." But of course, we've got people being like, "Hey, just letting you know, my tube just burst." And testament to our customers, they are the nicest people in the world. Like, all of them are just so sweet. Anyone it happened to, obviously, we've replaced the tubes and,
Mm.
no one asked for a refund. Everyone loved the product. They're like, I'm still happy to use it, squeezing it out the bottom. I actually listened to a podcast episode with the Lanolips founder,
Mm.
and she tells a story of the exact same thing happening to them. But
Really?
theirs was like, I think she said like a 70,000 unit order. So lucky for us, it wasn't that amount.
Yeah,
But I think that's why you do small runs to start
of
with.
course.
Yes, was there part of us that wasn't sure if we would sell it? Absolutely. We had forecasted, and forecasting before you launch a brand is just making stuff up.
Of course it is.
Um,
Of course it is.
we had been like, okay, if we can sell through our first run in a year, we'll be really happy with that. But obviously, we did it a lot quicker than that.
3 months later.
But yeah, 3 months later. But thank goodness we didn't do a 10,000 order run, because what if every single one of those tubes was busted?
Yeah,
So I think it was a big learning for us. Like, yes, it would have been great to be in stock, but I'd actually rather be sold out and have a good product
agreed,
than, yeah, than
agreed.
where we were at a certain point. So that was probably the biggest challenge we've had as a business.
Mm.
But again, just a learning.
No, that makes complete sense. This conversation doesn't end here. Part 2 is where we go deeper. Make sure you subscribe so you know when part 2 drops. Remember, you don't win by posting more. You win by being the name they think of first. Stay top of mind.